Hey, it's Eric with Jazz Wealth. I was talking to some clients and we were looking at the spouse's pension. She was looking at everything and trying to figure out what was going to be the best scenario for her. There was somebody at their office that had mentioned a strategy that they were doing. And I'll be honest with you, I worked for the fire department, worked with pensions, and really studied the pension system prior to leaving the fire department. I had this gentleman come up to me and he wanted to sell me a whole life insurance policy and tell me how it was the holy grail and it was the best thing and it's the thing I needed to do. And I started breaking down the numbers and even getting into finance. I said, this was not the strategy for me, and I'm thankful that I did not do what he was recommending. But I am always open to looking at different scenarios and different strategies. And this one comes into play here, and I'm really wanting to run the numbers by you. I wanted to see if you have a thought of what is something that possibly I missed or that you're thinking of. Or if you're like, hey, wow, yeah, I would do this scenario if I was this person in this situation. And so when it comes to a pension and what you're trying to determine and what you're going to do, if you're a single person, oftentimes it may be just easy. If you don't have kids, it's like, hey, I'm going to take the full pension payout, single life payout, and just let it ride. I'm going to take that monthly check and go enjoy myself. On the other side, though, if you're married or maybe have children, you want to start thinking of them. What does life look like for you then? There are a lot of things that you're going to want to think through. Some of the biggest factors you're going to want to think through is health. What does your health look like? What does your family history look like? What are your goals? What are your goals throughout your retirement time? And then the other factor that comes into play, and especially in this scenario for these people as well, and that is inheritance or a legacy. What do you want to leave, if anything? If you take a pension and you just solely have a pension and you don't have any other assets, well, then sorry, kids, you're not going to get anything. But in a scenario like this, that may be something that's possible. So let's just take a look. We'll break it down. I'll explain everything going through it. And you can look at this and say, hey, does this possibly make sense for me? I always encourage you to work with a financial planner to make sure that you're making the right decisions on this. So if we're looking at Bob and Sierra Roth, obviously that's not their names. I changed them just to make sure that we protect who they are. And we're looking at their family. They've got Baby Roth and Baby Roth 2. Their kids there, but Bob and Sierra, 51 and 55. When it comes to their goals, they've got Sierra's going to be retiring next year. Bob's still got a few more years of work. Their retirement expenses, they've got in there $60,000 a year plus health care. As far as wedding expenses, I've got 2 daughters. I am not looking forward to that wedding expense one day. Boat goals, I do love a boat. It's in the financial plan, and if the plan works, you go get that boat. But if the plan doesn't work, it is a horrible investment. I'm not going to lie on that part of it. As far as their income goes, what we're going to be looking at is Sierra's pension. That's going to be our primary focus here. Sierra's going to have the option for 100% survivor pension. That means that if something were to happen to her, then she is going to, that Bob is still going to get that same pension payout every single year until his death. Or Sierra could take the single life. That means that nobody else gets anything. She's going to get $32,429 a year. Or Sierra takes the 50% survivor benefit. That bumps it up a little bit because now what's going to happen is she'll take one payout and then Bob will get half of that. So she'll get $30,250 annually. Bob would get 50% of that. There's various scenarios depending on the pension and what the different payout structures are. Make sure that you are focusing on that and you understand what you're getting into and what you may be selecting or electing in your pension. Net worth, they've done really well. $2.4 million, almost $2.5 million here. They've got cash in the bank. Credit card they're paying off every month. $1.5 million in investments. $864,000 in properties, one of them being a vacant land that they're looking to do some things with. And then the focus here is insurance. So the person had talked with them about getting a term life policy. Now, something you've got to watch out for, and one thing I want to warn you about is make sure you do not select what you are going to choose to do with your pension if you are doing one of these insurance things, unless you have already been qualified and are locked in on a policy. Because what happens is these insurance people, nothing against them, I'm not trying to say this in a negative way, but oftentimes you want to lead with the best. And so, if I'm going to tell you, hey, your annual premium for 20 years on a $500,000 benefit is $1,140, so or $1,140. What happens if then we go get the blood work and you fill out everything and we find out, well, actually, your sugar's a little high, or this is going on, or that's going on, or your blood pressure's high, they may rate you or give you something that it's going to be a lot higher of an expense if they cover you at all. And so you want to make sure that you are getting this locked in and guaranteed for those 20 years prior to making the election with your pension, because if not, you make the wrong election and then you can't get life insurance. Well, now you are literally up the creek without a paddle, I guess would be the term there. I think that would fit really good in this scenario. And so let's take a look at the retirement, though. Let's take a look at these, break them apart, and truly see apples to apples or apples to oranges, because they're a little different, and see exactly what we're looking at. So the general proposed plan, what we're looking at, current plan and proposed plan. This is saying right this second, Sierra is going to do 100% survivor benefit. She's going to live till age 90. If all goes as planned, they're set. They've got nearly $4.3 million in today's dollars they're leaving as a legacy. In a scenario like this, I'm really encouraging Bob and Sierra to spend a little bit more money. Get out there and spend it. So let's take a look at a few different scenarios here. We've got a 75%, or at age 75. Sierra turns age 75 and has an untimely passing. She passes away. She's 50% survivor benefit. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if something were to happen again, she's going to get $30,250. Bob is going to get half of that at age 75 right here, as you can see, when she passes away. But remember, we have a $500,000 life insurance policy that expires when she turns 76. So she's in the money here, or he's in the money here. I don't know if we should tell Bob this, because Bob may be like, hey, Sierra's got to go by 75. We don't need something like that. I do not want to be an accomplice. It's $4,690,000 would be remaining at the end of the plan. Well, what's going to happen if Sierra turns 76? Because remember, that life insurance expires at age 76. This is something that's really going to make sense to look at and determine this is where they're going to be able to determine what's going to be best. At 76, there's no life insurance in play. Again, 50% survivor, so that means Bob's going to get half of that $30,250. You still have a $4,094,000 ending balance. So a significant number here, though we're talking $200,000 difference. So if you're really wanting to do what's the best case scenario for possibly your goals or for an inheritance legacy perspective, that may not be the best fit just because of the risk you're carrying here. Now, could it work out? Absolutely. Again, it's only $200,000 difference. It also depends. What is the family history of somebody like Sierra? Is Sierra somebody who we're thinking, hey, you know what? Everybody in her family passes at about age 70. Well, then potentially you want to go here and look at that option and going that route. Now, what happens if we say Sierra's 75 and passes taking the single life? Well, the single life scenario here, she's going to get $32,429. But when Sierra passes away, again, at 75, Bob's going to get $500,000 of term life insurance. And again, that term life insurance is tax-free. That's going to hit the bank. That's tax-free money, which is nice. So $4,619,000, that's going to play in Bob's favor as well as the beneficiary's favor once Bob were to pass away. But that single life, Bob doesn't get any dollars from that pension. So once Sierra passes away, that is it. And that's what we want to look at here, because at age 76, what does this look like for Sierra or for Bob? In this scenario, $4,057,000. So again, we've dropped down. What's unique here and what I'm seeing here is the best scenario, if we know that Sierra is going to live past 75, is for them to take a different pension and or take the 100% survivor benefit. Now, I want to explain this though, because the longer that Sierra lives past age 76, the closer they get to this 100% number over here, that 4.3 million. Because if Sierra lives into her 80s, this number continues to creep up because the pension is steadily paying a higher amount for her. So there's this odd dynamic here where I did just present to you the best case scenario with it making sure it pays out the life insurance, but the worst case scenario, if it did not pay out the life insurance, and looking at this, there are a lot of factors that come into play. And as a planner and looking and talking to Bob and Sierra, Yes, there are numbers that are going to be a little bit off on one or the other. Nothing breaks the plan. If they make one decision or the other, I'm not going to sit here and tell them, hey, I can't believe you did that. You're a horrible person and you didn't think about your kids, or hey, maybe you thought about your kids, but you didn't think about yourself. None of that. This is a scenario where any option is a good option. If it's me and I'm looking at this as my family, I'm personally leaning towards taking the risk-off approach and knowing that, hey, I'm going to have $4.3 million. If something were to happen to Sierra, then I'm still going to get that pension steadily, which allows me to not pull as much from my assets. It also allows me to come up with some other strategies that maybe I want to do, but also keep enough liquidity in the bank. I'm not hurting. He's got a huge chunk of money right there, so it's not like he's needing to worry about anything, but this is going to put him in a great spot one way or the other. You pray that, Sierra has nothing happen and she lives till, the end of the plan. I think we've got her living to about 90 years old here. So that's the goal with everybody. Keep living and keep happy.